Raider Nation, I want to know who is the best player on this team, because I think for the first time in a long time, this is actually a legitimate question. Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, I have ranked every single player on the Las Vegas Raiders from 91 all the way to 1. From worst to first. Pete Carroll and John Spytek have really brought in a brand new regime from top to bottom, coaching staff, front office, but a lot of different players. And I had one of our OGs, one of our big-time donors, if you will, ask me, Mitch, could you rank the entire Raiders roster from worst to first? My answer to that is absolutely. So here is my ranking criteria. Overall Raiders impact. Basically, how much of an impact I think that player is, position, how good they are, and how much that's going to translate to wins and losses this upcoming season. What is the positional importance in the NFL? So, for example, if one player is the best player at his position in the National Football League, how does that compare to every other player at that position in the league and then on this team? And then my 2025 expectations, if they are fully healthy this upcoming season. I'm not going to lie. I really put that one in there basically just for Christian Wilkins. But you know what? That's why you guys subscribe to the show. I'm always going to be honest and transparent. I'm also going to be transparent on this. This might be one of the last opportunities that y'all are going to get this chance to get started here with Panda Subs. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasubs.com. If you spend over $125, this is the deal that I was talking about. You're going to be able to get free creatine and free shipping on orders in the U.S. They have really helped me get into better shape, and I know when you guys are watching this video, my honeymoon's basically already over, but when I recorded this video, I keep on telling people, this is the products that I used to help me get in shape. Now, I am going to quickly roll through some of the rankings and players on this to really get to the top of the order and break it all down. From 91 to 82. Some of y'all might look at a few of these names on here. I think probably the biggest one that's going to be glaring is just number 91 and Carter Bradley at the quarterback position. He's a UDFA type of player. I don't think that he's going to end up making this roster. It was really tough to put any of these players kind of in this list here, but I'm not going to sit up here and argue why one guy's going to be here, one guy's going to be here. I ultimately did it based on certain positional value and just overall my grades and some of the notes that I had before the draft process. Let's go to 81 here to 72, and the big name that I think a lot of people are going to see and a lot of people are going to pay attention to is the Raiders UDFA, Laki Tassi, who originally came in as a defensive tackle, then he ended up getting switched to an offensive lineman. He might have been one of the most difficult players to overall break down, but the International Pathway Program player will end up making the squad. Another sneaky name to keep in mind, Anthony Booker. You guys might know him as Tank Booker at defensive tackle. Let's go to 67 to 71 here on the show. And Colin Johnson might be a little bit lower for some people, but the one player that I did really want to just kind of look at is Sakari Franklin, the UDFA from Illinois. When we interviewed Dante Thornton Jr., he was speaking very highly of him, and I also had a source probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe it's 4 weeks ago at this point, tell me that they were impressed by Franklin this offseason. He's a slow receiver. I'll tell you that right now. But his physicality, his toughness, and his ability to compete is definitely something to keep your eyes on during training camp. Let's go to 62 to 66 here. Mello Dotson is going to be the player that I highlight, though. Some of y'all might look at Dylan Laube being at 64 and think, damn, Mitch, that's pretty low. To me, I do have Laube ranked a little bit lower, and I only have that because I don't really necessarily believe in him all that much. But for Dotson, somebody that was one of the biggest winners this offseason from a UDFA standpoint, from a young player, he's somebody that I do think is a sneaky guy to make this roster. Let's go from 57 to 61 here, and I know the picture of Chris Smith. We can get it updated. It'll update sooner rather than later. Also, I don't know if that's Andre Carter as well. Bottom line is this, okay? When you talk about players from 57 to 61, you can switch it. We're fine. Kai Blue Kelly is going to be an intriguing cornerback. Dalton Wagner has always been somebody that's gotten a lot of attention. And then Jalen Smith at the linebacker position. He was brought in during rookie minicamp, and he was somebody that ended up making this roster. I'll be curious to see if whether or not they end up keeping Smith, because I think by them going out and adding Jermaine Pratt, by them going out and kind of getting, Elandon Roberts, Devin White, that's already 3 veterans at the linebacker position. I would like for them to stay potentially a little bit younger. Chris Smith, though, this might finally be his last straw with the Raiders. Let's go from 52 to 56, and Zamir White was right on the question line of making that top 53. I'll be transparent. I put Jacob Bobenmoyer at 53 because I knew he was going to make the 53-man roster, and I didn't know exactly where you put a long snapper. Ja Joyner being in my top 52, which that's a UDFA, my top UDFA. But Quadir Ishmael, he's a really intriguing prospect. He's long, 6'6", 215 pounds. I've heard some good things about him this offseason of being like a good, wide receiver, tight end hybrid. There's also a lot of rumors that the Raiders could keep this extra tight end because they want to run 3 tight end sets. Ian Thomas, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers. Watch out for Quadir Ishmael. That's all I'm going to say. Let's go from 47 here to 51. And, you got J.J. Pegues, who the Raiders drafted in the 6th round this year. Caleb Rogers was somebody that this team drafted in round 3. And there's a lot of developmental players that the Silver and Black have. And I know I'm doing a lot of projections here, but that's what this entire team is going to be doing this year because we got a brand new regime. From 42 all the way down to 46. I talked about the Cameron Richardson right before I went on my honeymoon, and that was a player that got a lot of attention from Dante Thornton Jr. Charles Grant was drafted in the 3rd round. Aiden O'Connell coming in here at number 42, one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. From 37 to 41, a lot of unknowns, and this kind of was maybe one of the more difficult areas of where I had to do some of my rankings because Devin White, that's somebody that a lot of people have confidence in. Alex Cappa, major question mark. Jordan Meredith, Thayer Munford, they're going to be battling, I think, for that 9th offensive line spot. Ian Thomas, probably going to be your 3rd tight end. From 32 to 36 is where we get a little bit younger. I'm excited to see Tommy Millott and see what he can do in the special teams game. John Olalu is going to be entering that 2nd year. Lonnie Johnson Jr. the first time here. Amari Gaynor, though, a UDFA that has been getting a lot of attention. Excuse me, from Raiders camp, and Cody Lindenberg, who was drafted in the 7th round. But definitely Gaynor is going to be a player to watch here at training camp because of what he can do from a coverage standpoint. From 27 to 31, I decided to put Tonka Hemingway up there a little bit higher because I do think he's going to get some opportunities. Thomas Harper, I actually wanted to put higher on this list. And when I'm sitting here looking at it now, there's a part of me that wonders, should I put him over Raheem Mostert? Should I put him over Lucky Fotu, Charles Snowden? But I kind of like where the Raiders are right now. Here's where we're about to make a big-time, massive tier gap and a jump forward here into our top 26. The rookie, Dante Thornton Jr. Another rookie, Jack Bech. Some of you are going, well, wait a minute, Mitch. Why'd you put Bech higher than Thornton? I do still think that Bech is going to have a bigger impact than Dante Thornton Jr. this season. I know that might be a hot take for some people, but I think you can split hairs, and I'm okay to split hairs on that. I'm just going to put him one little bit higher because sometimes teams typically put a guy that they drafted higher in a better situation to succeed overall. Daniel Carlson at 24. Isaiah Paul-Lamau, Elandon Roberts there 23, 22. But this is also about where we're going to make another tier jump and get into the top 21 players here for the Raiders. Speaking, though, of Dante Thornton Jr., if you want to check out the interview that I did with the Raiders rookie, I'll tell you this. There is a stat in this interview where Dante Thornton Jr. is in the same conversation from an athletic standpoint as DK Metcalf and Megatron. One player he looks up to. I want you to go check it out. This interview will be down in the comments, will be down in the description of today's show. And if you're not subscribed, you might have missed it. So make sure you're subscribed. Let's go to number 21 here. We're going to start revealing these one by one. Tyree Wilson, getting ready to enter that 3rd year, hoping that he takes that step forward. Rob Leonard expects Tyree Wilson to take that step forward. One player that I think is very split on for the nation, Dylan Parham. I am a believer in Parham, and if it was up to me, I would figure out a way to keep this guy because of how many different positions he can play, and because he can play so many different positions, that's why I have him here at number 20. Let's go to 19, Jacorian Bennett. He was the Raiders' best corner last season, and he's in a hell of a battle this upcoming year. I do think if he's fully healthy, he's probably the highest-rated corner on this list. But because I don't know exactly how healthy he is at this current moment, I decided to put him at number 19, right behind the Raiders' 3rd rounder and Darien Porter. Long, lanky, Going to be a good cornerback this upcoming season for the Raiders. Going to be a starter. At number 17, let's go Michael Mayer at tight end. I expect big things for the third year tight end out of Notre Dame. He's had a little bit of a rough start the first few years. I'm excited to see what he does this upcoming year with Chip Kelly. It sounds like they're really trying to get him involved in this offense. At number 16, let's go with Erik Stokes at corner. And this was a really difficult one. Thornton was very high on Stokes when we interviewed him. The Raiders have been very high on Stokes. They love his competitive nature, former first-round pick. What if Stokes is able to put it together with Pete Carroll and finally live up to that round one hype? That's the hope that I'm looking for. At number 15, let's go with Tre Tucker here at the wide receiver position, a guy that's been stepping up time and time again, about to make that third-year jump, I hope, with a guy like Geno Smith. Coming to number 14, the second-year offensive lineman, DJ Glaze. The Silver and Black are very confident in Glaze, even if they're not telling you every single day. Because they decided to pass on Armin Membu and draft Ashton Jeanty instead, that tells me that they're confident in Glaze. At number 13, I'm going to go with linebacker Jermaine Pratt. He is the best linebacker on this squad. The Raiders recently added him, and this is going to be the dude that I do think potentially leads this team in tackles. Going to be somebody that I think is going to be very high up there from a snap percentage standpoint. But we got 12 more players to get to, and we're about to get into another big-time tier gap, jumping up to the top players on this Silver and Black team. You know what, though? If you're a Raiders player and you're watching this video and you're like, damn it, I'm not in the top 12. Well, maybe if you take a little Panda Subs, you get a little bit more jacked, you can get into that top 12. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasubs.com, and I recommend you try the new Premium Whey Protein Isolate. You can also get it in 3 flavors that always feel like cheat day. I'm talking about peanut butter cookies. I recently had the peanut butter cookie protein. Some of y'all might think this is weird, but I'm a coffee fiend. I actually mixed iced coffee with the peanut butter cookie, and I also mixed coffee with the protein of the chocolate brownie whip. If you have a Ninja Creamy, they're not a sponsor here. I'm telling you, the protein that you're looking at on screen is going to be amazing in your Ninja Creamy. The toasted honey graham, also very, very solid. 25 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, 100% pure whey isolate, and only 110, 120 calories. And for a limited time, if you spend $125 and you live in the United States, free shipping and free creatine. If you want to just check out what the creatine is, I recommend you check it out, but you can also check out all the Panda Subs products. They pump out new stuff all the flipping time. It's owned and operated by a Raiders fan, so if you want to support your own, go to pandasubs.com, code Raiders, 20% off. That link, you already know, down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Let's go to number 12 here on my Raiders 2025 rankings list. It's going to be Adam Butler at defensive tackle. To me, one of the most underappreciated players that we have on this team. It continuously tries to make this defensive line better. At number 11, Malcolm Kuntz was signed to a 1-year, $12 million deal coming off that ACL injury. But if Malcolm get back to looking like the way that he did in 2023, this ranking is far too low. At number 10, Jeremy Chinn. This is going to be a sneaky candidate to lead the Raiders in tackles this upcoming season. I know some people are panicking by the Silver and Black not bringing back Robert Spillane. I think Jeremy Chinn is a lot more of a Robert Spillane replacement than what people realize. At number 9, Jakobi Meyers. He did not have a single drop last season, had 87 catches over the past, I believe, 3 seasons, the 17th most receptions in the NFL, and now he gets an actual quarterback. At number 8, it's Christian Wilkins. Don't know exactly how healthy this foot is, but again, I did this ranking based on players that I'm expecting to be fully healthy for 2025, and he is somebody that needs to step up and show me more than what he did last season, but Wilkins is a big boy on the interior, and I'm really excited to have him healthy if he is truly healthy. At number 7, the guy in the interior at center, it's Jackson Powers-Johnson, and I do think that this is going to be one of the players that gets a little bit more love around the NFL because his mentality, his toughness, it fits so well with what this regime's trying to do. Spytek loves guys that are trying to beat the shit out of you. And JPJ is going to teabag you and let you know about it. At number 6 here, I'm going to go Geno Smith. And Geno, I do believe, can be a top 10 quarterback. I believe Christian Wilkins can be a top 10 defensive tackle. I believe JPJ can be a top 10 center. Hell, I already expect him to be a top 10 center. But Geno Smith is one of the most difficult players to evaluate in the NFL because of how good his film is when he is protected and then how bad it is when he is not. He's going to be on a better offensive line. He's going to be with an OC that knows how to use him, and he's going to be on a team that is really built very well for his strengths, no doubt about it. At number 5, I'm going to go Kolton Miller here, an offensive tackle, still looking for a contract extension at the time that I'm making this video. I believe Miller is still a top 15 offensive tackle in this league, and he deserves to go get paid like it. At number 4, running back Ashton Jeanty, drafted at number 6 overall. I see Jeanty being a top, I just saw Jeremy's face for this next guy is going to make you laugh, but you'll see. Jeanty here at running back for number 4. I think he's got already top 5 running back potential. Somebody that's going to be offensive rookie of the year. Coming in at number 3, I've been getting a lot of shit around the Chat Sports office for having A.J. Cole ranked this high, but A.J. Cole is an all-pro. A.J. Cole is the best punter in the NFL. Statistically, you could make an argument that A.J. Cole is the greatest punter of all time in NFL history if you just look at the stats. So, hey, if we're talking about how good a player is and how good they are compared to everybody else at their position in the NFL, I'm going to put A.J. Cole here at number 3. You can hate it if you want. Let's go to number 2. Maxx Crosby. Crosby was recently voted by his peers as the 4th best defensive end. I know if you're looking at Madden ratings, Max is going to have the highest one. And I know Max himself would probably be a little bit upset about this because he wants to be number 1. But Max battled injuries last season, had only 7.5 sacks. To me, I look at the number 1 player on this Raiders team right now, and I look at it as Brock Bowers. The reason why I put Bowers over Crosby, Bowers was voted the number 1 tight end by his peers in the National Football League. I also think that Bowers is the best tight end in the NFL, and I think that you can make an argument. Would the Raiders, if they had to make a decision, keep Brock Bowers or Maxx Crosby? It would be one hell of a discussion. So I want to know from all of y'all, if you made it this far in the video, where do you agree with me? Where do you disagree with me? Hope you enjoyed this video. I typically do this one time a year, and it's usually always in the month of July. But I enjoy being able to rank these players. And if you're a Raiders player and you saw this, hit me up on IG, hit me up on Twitter, yell at me if your ranking's too low.